All right, everyone wants to hang out for a while. I'm going to be sanding, lots of sanding. So come hang out, chat. What's up, guys? Come hang out while I sand for countless hours. Uh, the estimate, yeah. So my estimate's 6 weeks. So it's expensive. It's like a $7,000 commission. I mean, that's if not a little bit more by the time I'm done. Yeah. This is week 3 and I'm still prepping. And I haven't even tried to put LEDs in yet. I kind of got spots routed for wiring, but I haven't actually put any lights in it yet. I've got to order those. But if someone wants me to do a Gundam, that's what I charge to do stuff like this. One reason I haven't done one in like 6 years because no one wants to pay. No one wants to pay what I'm charging to do these suckers. I've got a shitload of sanding ahead of me. This is the stage of the process where I really go in and get out all the imperfections I can out of the resin, out of my scribing work, all that stuff. This is the steps that's going to show me where I need putty, um, and stuff like that. So this is a very long process right here. So I put yesterday I spent all day um, I spent all it took me most of the day just to put the primer on. I put on 2 coats of Styrene primer, and that was like nonstop spraying for like 6 hours just to put this primer on. So like when I'm sanding, I've got some areas. So I went through and I rescribed all the panel lines. You can see how crisp they are. Man, those look really good. But I got a couple areas when I went a little far with my scribing, so I bring in the 600 grit sandpaper. I'm using 800 as my go-to paper, but I got a piece of 600 here that I can go in and get a little more aggressive on those areas where I may have slipped with my scribing tool, which is basically an X-Acto blade. Backside of an X-Acto knife. I do have a scribing tool, but I find that a broken X-Acto blade is like the exact same size I need, and it works perfectly. So I'm going in here and just using this 600 grit to kind of get rid of that. I do have. I did buy a new scribing tool because my old one was just really dull. So I did buy a new one. This isn't like some fancy BMC thing. This is just a little kind of off-brand chisel I found on Amazon. But let's see, 0.2. What did I use? But I do have this that I can use to go in and if I need to. Clean up. It's like right here, it's a little. I can go clean it up if I need to. So I'm going to put that to the side. Yeah. I'll have to tap the back of my phone. What's up, nice guy? Yeah, they're crazy. Like the BMC chisel, like one of them's like $40. I just bought that. I don't, like I said, I when I scribe, I typically use the backside of an X-Acto blade. It's nothing fancy. Because I'm using on resin, so it tears them up. So you can see here that most of this primer, 90% of it's getting sanded off. And it's just a guide coat because the final primer will be Mr. Surfacer 1200. So here's a really good gouge I ended up creating when I first started describing these pieces. So I got to try to get this up. This may need some putty work. We'll see. Let's see if I can get it out. Luckily, it's not near any details, so I can probably sand it out. We'll see. If I can, I'll put a little spot putty in there later. Looks like it's coming out. Okay, that'll work. Okay, so I've already been sanding on this one piece for probably 10 minutes. That's just one piece, and I've got 300 to go. Now, not every single little piece is going to get this treatment. Some of the little small, very small detail pieces you can't wet sand. They're too tiny. But definitely all the armor, anything that I can wet sand and get imperfections out, will get this treatment. You can see here I've got some pretty deep sanding scratches from my initial prep on the resin, so we're going to get rid of those. And I just keep a paper towel close by. I can wipe away the residue. So I'll hang out here for a little while. If anyone wants to ask questions or chat for a little bit. And I got some sanding sticks here I just made up for the flat parts. These are really more for bevels, not really that spot. No, this may not. Yeah, I'm just gonna go back in here and do this by hand right here. Now this part doesn't get seen when it's all together because this is covered up by another piece of armor. We're gonna go in there and get all those sanding scratches out. That's pretty aggressive there with the cleanup, initial cleanup. I watched some guys when they're sanding and they're doing their final prep. They like sand their parts up like to 2,000. You know, eventually that's actually too high. One of my old friends, David Star Shadow, I watched him prep kits and he's like wet sanding up to 1,000 grit sandpaper. It's just too high. You need something. You need something for the primer to stick to. And 1,000, that's actually, you're to the point where you're polishing the part. You go up to 2,000, then there's nothing for the paint to stick to. You got to have a little tooth in there. It's like this edge right here. Bevel. I think there's glue on that stick. I can tell by the way, I can feel it when I'm sanding. I can actually feel through the it sounds weird, through the vibration or the way that the sandpaper is going across the surface. If it's doing what, like this, I think I got glue when I was making the stand. I think I actually got glue on the sandpaper when I was making that stick. I could feel it. It wasn't doing what it's supposed to do. Okay. So that looks really good. Any other tiny little scratches will get filled in with the surface are 1200. That's what we want our parts to look like. And we come to the back side. This is going to be fun because I got to get in all these detail areas. So these areas right here, again, we don't see this when it's all put together. I'm not going to kill myself to get rid of all these little scratches. There's really no need to. So this initial round of primer, was that Edwin? Sorry, I have to pause every second, look at the back of my phone. Edwin is simply a sanding guide. This is Mr. Surfer or Stynylrez, Badger Stynylrez. 2 light coats of it. It took me almost all day yesterday just to put this primer on. It's simply a sanding guide. Knowing that I'm going to take most of it off. 90% of this is going to be sanded off on all these parts. It just lets me know this is where I go and I check for any errors in the resin, surface imperfections. So knowing that, I don't care if it all comes off because the final primer is going to be Mr. Surfacer 1200. This is simply to check for errors in the resin, because with white resin you can't see any of the surface imperfections. If it's a gray resin, you can see those easier in your initial prep. So that's the one downfall to a lighter colored resin, is that you can't see any of the imperfections until you start doing this step. They just don't pop up. So this is strictly really just a sanding guide. Because if the resin was gray, this step right here, I could probably perform this step before I did any priming at all, because I would be able to see the imperfections. This is to check my scribe work, to fix any of those errors from scribing. I know, I thought maybe this will take me 2 days to do all the sanding. This may take me 3 days to sand all these, wet sand these parts and get them ready for the final coat of primer. But see, what I'm doing is I'm checking for errors like this. When I was scribing, I went a little past the line. So now this is some 600 right here, a little more aggressive. I'm using 800 as my main paper. I got some 600 here to go in here and try to sand out some of these little mishaps or mistakes. And if I can't sand them out, I'll just use little spot putty. It can also, oh, I had a blade out here. There it is. Let me get a new X-Acto blade. So on bevels, so the sign of good prep on a Gundam is sharp bevels, really sharp edges. So I'm gonna get another way you can do that is just get a brand new X-Acto blade. I had to move my camera because my fresh blades are in the drawer next to me. Just like this. And just real carefully scrape this across the surface to get rid of any imperfections and get us a nice flat bevel. Now that little imperfection is gone right there. I'm trying to get rid of this little slip up right there. It's real light. My panel lines are pretty deep. Spent a lot of time rescribing everything. If I feel like if I'm gonna go too far and lose my panel line, I got my scribing tool next to me. I can go in and rescribe it. But yeah, so it's just a matter of kind of doing that number. And then I can use a scribing tool, or I could use what I used to actually scribe the line. It's just in the backside of an X-Acto blade. I actually like to cut it off. But so the once this is all sanded and ready, and I can do any putty work that's necessary, once I put the last round of primer, the Surfacer 1200, there won't be any more sanding unless I see something I missed, and then I'll fix that and spot primer it. Sanding, I don't know. I made some sanding systems. It just looks like they're sanding, like they're contaminated. I don't know. feel weird. I'm telling you, not doing it right. I think I'm use a smaller stick. So I haven't even finished sanding my first part yet. Of course, I picked one of the biggest pieces to work on first. That's what I'm doing. I'm going and getting rid of all these little surface imperfections as much as I can. Rad time. Actually, Rad time's tomorrow. Sorry, I post last night when I was posting it. I forgot what day it was. It's tomorrow. It's on Wednesday. Today is Tuesday, right? I forget what fucking day it is. So it's tomorrow. I think they have it posted at 5 o'clock. And I was like 2100. They said between 2100 and 2200 their time, which is between what was that 6 or 7 my time. So if you go to their website and go to their live where they have their live stuff posted, you can get notified. Just go in there and click get notified. I sent them like 150 photos last night. My work. They was like, here, pick what you want to talk about. I sent them some Gundam stuff too. I'm not sure if they'll pick that. The last time I was on, last time someone had me on and kind of interviewed me, they actually picked up some of my Gundam stuff, which is kind of cool. So today it's just this sanding. I mean, just countless fucking hours of sanding. Yeah, Tony, this is yeah, good practice. uh, these things they take forever, man. To do them the way to do them the way I like to do them, they just take forever. And it's sanding. It's a lot of damn sanding, a lot of masking, a lot of sanding. The supplies are expensive. I actually do charge for supplies on top of my fees for these guys because I ordered the paints for this guy the other day, and just the paint alone was about $300 just for the paint and the primer. And that's not even, that doesn't include the stuff I have that I'm using that I have on hand. That's just the stuff I had to order. So the supplies are expensive on this guy. You know, statues, they can get up there too, but not as much as these guys do, because I use all Mr. Color paints on these. I don't use acrylics. It's all lacquer paint. Okay, there's this pretty good slip up there I gotta get it out of. Okay, there's a pretty good snafu right there when I was scribing. Let's see if that'll sand out. Hope I can sand that out. But you can see how sharp all my panel lines are. Man, they look really freaking good. If you're still there, Tony, I'm not sure if you heard my reply, but it's not today, it's tomorrow. It's Rad Titan. A pretty good gouge right here, mine. When I was scribing, it slipped pretty good. I'm trying to get rid of that mistake. Looks like it's going to sand out. Trick is to sand it out without losing the scribing, the panel line. But these are pretty deep now, so I should have plenty of room to sand that out. And that looks pretty good. That little bit right there will get filled in with the other primer and paint. So I'm not worried about it. Just a little. Yeah, it's looking good. I think this is the first part I started to scribe on. Yeah, because it's got the most mistakes. I was trying to go a little too aggressive, too fast with the scribing, and my blade slipped a few times. And that's when you run into problems, when you try to scribe too fast and try to put too much pressure on the tool you're using, and it slips, and then you just create a big gouge, like shit, and it just creates more work at the end. So it's better just to go a little slower and take your time at the front end, because you'll save time on the back end trying to fix that slip up. Sometimes I have to tell myself that. It's like, don't try to rush yourself in the beginning on certain things, because you'll just create more work on the back end, which means just more time. There's another one. Yeah, that's the first one I did. I just randomly picked this piece to start with, and this is the first one I started to scribe. So I got, on this one piece, I've got like 4 or 5 slip-ups. I was trying to go too fast at the very beginning. You can see right there, that line at the top. That's not supposed to be there. And that's the importance of this particular primer coat, to bring out those imperfections and fix them. So I'm going in here with some 600 to sand out my little screw up, and then I go back over with 800 to get rid of those 600 grit sand scratches. The 600 is probably okay to sand with. I just rather have a higher grit, less. I don't have to worry about if I use an 800 grit for final sanding. I don't have to worry about that surfacer 1200 working too hard to fill scratches. It's just literally going on there as a surfacer, not really a filler of any kind. It's literally just giving me a good surface for paint. That's the whole purpose of that surfacer. And these are kind of hard to sand because you got to get in these little, on the back side, getting these nooks and crannies. As good as this kit is, you can still see there's all these little imperfections in the resin right there. And get rid of all that. There used to be a company, I think, I don't know if they're in Japan or China, but they specialized in building these large scale Gundam kits, and they would post photos of their work in progress, and they did all the stuff I'm doing. They did it too, man. Their work was really good. And it was all in the surface prep. It was crazy. It was just really good. They had a whole team of guys doing nothing but. They basically had like a master, the guy who had ran the show. He was the head guy. I think it was called Dragon Workshops. I'm pretty sure they're no longer around. But they did stuff for like companies and stuff. So they weren't cheap, because I actually inquired about having something done by them, and at that time I thought that was expensive, but their work was really, really good. So, but they had like a guy, the master. I don't know if he painted everything, but he oversaw all the process. Kind of like, I think like Titnan Painter. I think she's got a team. I don't think she's the only one working on all that stuff. I could be completely wrong, but I've heard that there's like a team of them, and she's kind of like the face of the group, which makes sense because she's pretty. Like, why he wants to look at a bunch of dudes? No one wants to look at me painting. Not fun. Well, when do you want to do it? That's, I guess, the question, Tony. When do you want me to work on yours? I do need to do a few figures after this one so I can accommodate other clients. But if you want me to work on yours this year, I'll do it. It's up to you. When I'm working on this, it takes up my entire workspace. I've got every surface covered in. Not right now, but when I start the painting process, I have one folding table out next to me right now with all the parts on skewers for priming and sanding. But once I'm in the painting phase, I'll have probably 2 or 3 folding tables in my work area with everything just laid out. It'll take up my entire workspace. So when I get to the painting phase, there's no room to do anything else in the shop. And that's a good little gouge right there. I really want to get rid of that. But I don't want to lose the line. Okay, that may need a little. That may be a spot after I prime it. I have to look at that again. I may need a little break after this one before I do another one. So if I did like, let's say there were enough clients out there, enough people willing to pay me to do these things like full time, I'd probably only get, oh man, let's say like this guy's gonna take me 6 weeks at least. So I get two done every 3 months. Okay. So I'd only get like 8 of these built a year, maybe. It's interesting. So these I would say, because I was really really active, super active in the Gundam model community. 10 years ago before I got into figures. 2015 was the first year I did it. Well, I got it, kind of got interested in it in 2015 when I went to my first Wonder Fest. Okay. Um, and I did my first figure, I guess, then that summer and into 2016. But before that, I was like, all I did was Gundam stuff. And I was really active in all the forums and Facebook pages. And I forgot where I was going with this. Oh, I know where I was going. But there was a time when kids like this, these large scale resin Gundams were really, really, really hot. Like 2010, I'll say 2008 to like 2011, maybe a little earlier than that, because that's when I first kind of got it into, when I kind of discovered these large scale resin Gundam kits. Actually, my very first resin kit ever was a 1/35th scale Gundam, like a 2 foot tall. I had no clue what I was doing, what I was getting into, but I saw it and it was on sale for like $500. Normally, like a $1,500 kit. They were just trying to get rid of inventory, and I got it and I was like, man, I have no clue. Like, I don't know how to build this damn thing. But I actually got it all pinned together really quick. It went together very easily. And I was hooked. So there's a time there when I had, man, I probably owned 50 or 60 kits like this. And they're not cheap. I mean, even back then they weren't cheap. Um, and then as I kind of got out of them, I would sell them off. But yeah, they're really hot for a long time. Now I am starting to see kind of a comeback in the Gundam resin stuff, but it's smaller scale. Um, and they're way more expensive than they used to be. Way more expensive. Um, there's a kid I saw posted, since I've been kind of posting this on some of the Gundam boards on Facebook. Now the algorithm is shooting me stuff that has to do with Gundams, which hasn't shot me stuff Gundam related in years because I haven't been on the boards. As soon as you post something or make a comment or something, then the algorithm starts kicking you stuff that way. But there's a mobile suit called the Kshatriya, which I've done 2 of. I've done the original NeoGrade kit years ago. And then I did, there's a company called MRSA that came out with their version. And I did one for a client years ago. But I've seen listings of a new one coming out soon. And I asked about it, and it's like for a 1/100 scale kit, they're wanting like $600 or $700 for this thing. I'm like, God dang, man. The NeoGrade kit when it was out, I think it was like $250. And then the MRSA I got, I think I got that for like under $200. But yeah, it's like God dang. I thought they were expensive when I was buying them years ago. I'm almost done with this first part, guys. This is exciting stuff. Almost done sanding the first part. As I said, this first round of primer is just really a sanding guide. I'm not even sure if I'm in camera, probably not. Okay, then we got these nice sharp bevels here. Make sure those are flat. So use a sanding stick. Oh, it's the wrong. Damn, it's the wrong paper. I've got a piece of 600 Arvert. I'm using as a little slightly more aggressive sandpaper to get out errors, and I was using it there. I didn't want to. I should use a blade right here. And then I go back over the 100, just kind of even that out a little bit. Okay. So you can see that 99% of that primer is gone. Do one more kind of wipe with my paper towel, see if I see anything that pops out. But that's what that looks like after we sand everything. So I've been on for 42 minutes. That's one part, guys. That's sanding one freaking part. 42 minutes to sand one damn part. You fucking kidding me? And this is why these take so damn long. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna be sanding for days. Days and days of sanding. It goes crazy. It's because I'm so fucking anal too. You know, it's like, I'm really fucking anal about making sure I try to get every little bit out. And sometimes I just got to tell myself, like, look, that will never ever be seen. But still, in my head, I'm like, I've got a guy here paying a lot of money for this to be done, and no matter whether you see it or not, or whether he's ever going to see it or not, I want to make sure that it's done the best I can do. And that's how I'm on everything, man. I think I just want it done the best I can do. Sometimes to my detriment. It's like, oh, sometimes you just gotta. My goal with everything. I want to make sure I deliver stuff to my clients that they feel like they got their money's worth. That they're paying a premium price to have something done for them, and I want to make sure that they feel like they didn't waste their money, because these are, to have stuff done like this, even the statues, it's not cheap, guys. It's an expensive hobby, you know. And I tell people all the time, I'm so lucky that I have clients that are willing to hire me and pay me to do this. I mean, come on. It's pretty fucking cool. And sometimes it sounds like I'm bitching, and it's really not me bitching. It's just me kind of, I try not to sound like I'm bitching. Okay, so there's a little spot there. When I do when I prime it again, oh, there's a really good gouge right there. Let's see if I can get that out. It's a hard kind of angle to get to, but my blade slipped pretty significantly there. So this is some 600. I'm just trying to get rid of this. It's pretty good gouge here. If I can get it to the point where I know it'll fill with primer, then I'll be okay with it. But right now I know that if I throw some more primer on it, that's going to show up. There it goes. So you know what? I'm gonna get what do I have here? It's ultra fine. I'm gonna get a super fine. I'm gonna get a super fine sanding sponge out too. So I think I can get some of these. I might have to get just a little more aggressive with initially, and then but the sanding sponge is just really hard to get into a tight spot and not sand around it. You know, I really tried to avoid putty work as much as possible on these guys. Doesn't mean I don't ever have to do it, but okay, I think. Can I feel it? Yeah, it's there. That might need putty work. Okay, we'll see. Anything else I see that's just sticking out? No, like, oh, it's going to show up later. Again, even though I'm this anal, doesn't mean I'm not going to miss something. Okay. Into the ultrasonic cleaner that goes. Soapy water. Okay, let's do something that's a little faster because that took fucking forever. Let's do this armor. Let's do this piece. Hopefully this will go quicker. Again, I'm not going to go live for 5 hours standing. Yeah, it's just nonstop. So you're talking about the Robin Hood? Are you talking about the panel lines? Because I did spent hours and hours rescribing the panel lines so that when I do all my priming and sanding, that they're still there. So that's why they're really sharp, because I spent countless hours rescribing them. So no, I'm not worried about the primer in the panel lines. I don't know if you followed it. I did post like the first work in progress, I think. First two, actually I have 2 more work in progress videos I've got to post on this, but it's, yeah, the first week was just scribing and doing the initial sanding on these parts. So they are plenty deep right now, and they will survive all the priming and sanding and painting process because I went through and I did that. So this piece should go quite a bit faster because there's nothing to sand on the back side. There's no details. There's nothing to sand there. And I'm pretty sure I didn't screw up. The reason that first piece took so long, I think that was the very first piece I worked on when I started this kit. And so I got some pretty good slips of the scribing tool because I was trying to be too aggressive too fast, and it slipped. And I had some pretty good gouges. So this, like I keep telling people, this first round of primers, 2 coats of Badger Style Res, is simply a sanding guide. And what this is doing is showing me imperfections of the resin. So right here, right there, a little imperfection of the resin. Would you ever see that? Probably not after paint, but I want to make sure it is smooth, smooth, smooth. Now I did have a little snafu on this part. I may have to, let's see if I'll sand out. It's right in this groove. Let's see if it'll sand out. I think, yeah, I'll say that. Perfect. Okay. So that first part took a very long time to go over. But look how sharp those panel lines are. Man, that looks freaking fantastic. God dang. That makes me happy. Hey, I may have to sign off here in a second, guys, and go answer an email. But for Rad Titan, they're not able to get to the photos I sent them for some reason for tomorrow's live chat. And I've been on for almost an hour anyway. And it's just going to be all of this sanding today and tomorrow and possibly Thursday. So once I get this all sanded and everything, and I'm happy with it, my paint or well, one of my paint orders, I had man, getting Mr. Color paints right now is a pain in the fucking ass. I had to go to like 4 different websites to get my supplies. And then one website I ordered, so sometimes I'm going to use the Mr. Color GX clear on this instead of the automotive clear, just because I want to make, I know for a fact that I'm not going to have any reactions with it. And anyway, one website said they had in stock, so I placed an order to buy 10 bottles, and then I get a notification, oh yeah, we only have 1 bottle, the rest will be in like in April or May. I'm like, well, I can't wait till April or May. So then I found on another website, and they said they have it in stock, so hopefully they have it. Okay, so I got a little slip up right here. Right there. My blade slipped a little bit. Yeah, we're going to come in here with this. Okay, once we get rid of it, mostly then go back into the 800 and get rid of those deeper sanding scratches. I can dip it in. I can dip it over here and rinse it off. But yeah, so that's how long. So that's, you know, if you're not trying to sand out a bunch of imperfections, that's, you know, it should go, you know, each piece should go relatively quickly, but sometimes they don't. So it's kind of hit or miss. So on this edge right here, I take a flat sanding stick and I use a flat sanding stick. I'm not going to worry about sanding the backside of this. There's no detail there, and that's going to get glued on, so I don't care about that. That's something you'll never see. I just care about on some parts. I just care about the areas you're for sure going to see. Like on that leg, I had all that detail on the underside, that leg armor, and that you'll see that. But the way we're going to display this, you'll see it. Because we're going to have this on a mirror, and it's going to be lit. And there you go. So I've got my ultrasonic cleaner set up next to me with soapy water. As I'm done sanding, I just throw it in there. These are gonna get another round in the ultrasonic cleaner. But yeah, that looks really good. There's a little snafu right here. I'll get rid of that. Alrighty. But I've been on for about an hour. And I think I'm gonna sign off because I have to go answer and I probably will end up putting gloves on because even though I'll probably end up getting blisters on my fingertips, even though it's very high grit sandpaper. Eventually, I've actually had my thumbs bleed from wet sanding for several days. But thanks for hanging out for a little bit, guys. I just kind of want to show you the process of wet sanding and why I do it and all that stuff. But take care, and we'll catch you guys on the next one.